Before there were footsteps, there was only water. For billions of years, Earth belonged entirely to the oceans. Waves shaped the continents. Currents guided the first sparks of life. Every creature ever born lived, hunted, and died beneath the shifting blue skin of the sea. The land was nothing more than a silent desert of stone, untouched, unclaimed, unknown. But one day, long before humans, long before dinosaurs, long before forests even existed, something happened that changed the destiny of the planet forever. A creature rose from the water, and for the first time in Earth's history, something walked. The world before footsteps. 375 million years ago, the Earth was a different planet. The continents were raw, empty slabs of rock scattered across a young world. Volcanoes shaped the landscape, ash drifted in the wind, and the air was warm, thick, and heavy with ancient gases. The land was barren. No grass, no trees, no birds, no insects buzzing above the soil. Only patches of primitive plants clung to the moist ground like dark green shadows. But beneath the surface of the oceans, life was exploding. Strange fish with armored bodies, glass-like eyes, and powerful jaws roamed the reefs. Giant sea scorpions glided through the murky depths. Soft coral forests swayed gently with the tides. And among these creatures were the earliest pioneers, fish with fins that were slowly becoming something more. They didn't know it yet, but they were preparing for a revolution that would rewrite the story of all life. The need to leave the water. No creature leaves the place it has lived for millions of years without a reason. Life always moves because something pushes it. Hunger, danger, or opportunity. For the first landwalker, it was all three. Shallow waters began to change. Seasonal droughts dried up entire lagoons. Hungry predators filled the deeper waters. Competition for food grew fierce as fish fought for insects that had begun to appear near the shore. Near the water's edge, the world was challenging, but full of new possibilities. Tiny pockets of moisture hid small worms. Damp mud trapped soft-bodied prey. And above all, the shoreline offered one thing the deep ocean never could: safety, a refuge from the jaws of the sea. But reaching it required something that no creature had fully developed yet: the ability to support its own weight against gravity. Fins were perfect for swimming, but useless for holding up a body on land, until evolution began to reshape them, slowly, silently, patiently. Fins turned into stronger limbs, shoulders became sturdier, bones thickened, muscles changed. Nature was designing the first walker, the creature that changed everything. Its name, given millions of years later by humans, was Tiktaalik. It looked like a strange mix of fish, crocodile, and salamander, a creature in between two worlds. It had scales like a fish, but ribs like a land animal, gills for water, but lungs for air, fins to swim, but bones to push itself upward. Tiktaalik lived in shallow, murky rivers, the perfect environment for transformation. Imagine it, a creature half submerged, resting on its sturdy front fins, watching the land with eyes positioned on top of its skull, as if evolution had already decided its destiny. This was not a fish that occasionally flopped onto land. This was an animal learning to use the land. Every push against the muddy bottom strengthened its limbs. Every gulp of air trained its lungs. Every moment spent near the shore prepared it for the greatest leap life had ever taken. The first step into a new world. No one knows the exact moment it happened, the moment history cracked open. But imagine a warm afternoon in the Devonian era. The sun glows faintly through clouds of volcanic ash. A shallow pool shrinks under the heat. The water is warm, muddy, and filled with hungry predators. Tiktaalik swims toward the edge, searching for safety. The last bit of water is too shallow for swimming. Its body drags across wet sand. Its fins dig into the earth. Its bones strain under its weight. And then it pushes, a single, heavy, awkward motion. One fin forward, another forward. A body rising above the mud for the first time. For the first time in Earth's 4 billion year history, a creature stands on land, breathing open air. That moment, quiet, unnoticed, and small, changed everything that would follow. Without it, there would be no reptiles, no mammals, no birds, no humans, no footsteps on soil, no civilizations. The first walker didn't know it, but it was building the path that leads all the way to us. The world welcomed the first footsteps with silence. No applause, no astonishment, no witness except the wind. But evolution does not need an audience. It only needs possibility. The new world above the water. For Tiktaalik, stepping onto land was not an act of courage. It was survival. Behind it, the shrinking waters were filled with danger. Ahead of it, a world untouched stretched across endless miles of stone, mud, and primitive plants. The land was strange. There were no giant trees to cast shadows, no birds to break the silence, no animals rushing through the grass because grass didn't exist yet. Only small patches of moss, liverworts, and thin stems of early plants clung to the ground like quiet pioneers. Every breath Tiktaalik took on land was heavy and warm. The air felt different, thicker, unmoving, but full of something new. Oxygen. It lifted its head higher, its ribs expanding, lungs stretching like ancient balloons. These were not the weak lungs of a typical fish. Evolution had given it a secret weapon, a double system, gills for the water, lungs for the air. This creature was built for the transition. The struggle of the first steps walking on land wasn't easy. With each step, its body sagged under gravity, a force it had never fully felt before. Water supported weight. Land exposed it. Its bones trembled, its muscles strained, its fins dug into the muddy ground. But in every struggle, evolution strengthened it. Push after push, Tiktaalik learned balance, motion, control. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't fast. But for the first time ever, it was possible. That was enough. The reason life needed land life rarely transforms without pressure. What pushed Tiktaalik and its kind toward this new world? 1. The hunt for food. Shallow pools trapped insects, worms, and small arthropods, creatures that had begun to live near the land for millions of years before vertebrates ever tried. The shoreline was a buffet waiting to be discovered. 2. Escaping predators. Deeper waters were dominated by monstrous predators, armored fish with crushing jaws and sea scorpions larger than humans. Land offered refuge. 3. Surviving droughts. Seasonal drying of rivers forced creatures into desperate situations. A fish with strong limbs could travel from one pool to another, an evolutionary superpower. Necessity did not just shape evolution, it forced it. Tiktaalik's limbs were not made to conquer the land. They were made to survive the water, but those limbs would change the world. The legacy begins. Once a creature discovered survival on land, nature took notice, not through intention, but through consequence. Tiktaalik's descendants, creatures like Acanthostega and Ichthyostega, would evolve stronger limbs, wider ribs, and better lungs. What began as a fish with elbows eventually became something unimaginable, a four-legged walker, a true tetrapod. These early land pioneers were awkward, gasping, half-water, half-land beings, but they represented the greatest biological transition in Earth's history. From them would arise reptiles, amphibians, mammals, dinosaurs, birds eventually, humans. Every creature that has ever taken a step on Earth carries the echo of Tiktaalik in its bones. When you walk, when a cat jumps, when a bird lands on a branch, all of it traces back to this moment in time. The first breath on land, the first step, the first claim of a new world. A planet transformed. The arrival of the first landwalker did not just change animals, it changed the Earth itself. The land that had remained empty for billions of years slowly came alive. Plants grew taller, insects adapted to the soil. Forests began to take shape. Rivers carved new paths as life crawled beside them. The land was no longer a silent continent of rock. It had become a frontier of opportunity. Life expanded, mutated, evolved. The first creature that walked on land had opened a door that would never close again. A footstep heard through time. If you listen closely to the story of life, you can hear a faint echo, the echo of that first step. Tiktaalik never knew what it had done. It never knew it was part of a revolution. It never knew it was reshaping evolution itself. But history is not always written by intention. Sometimes it is written by movement. One creature, one moment, one step, the beginning of every story that would follow.